Rivian has been thrown yet another lifeline. Well, who needs lifelines other than folks who are clearly drowning? But maybe that's just how it goes when you're Rivian. They've got some very exciting models coming up. The R1S has been refreshed. The R1T has been refreshed. The R2 is coming. The R3 is coming. The R3X is coming. And the RJ is, as far as I'm aware, the CEO. I am joined by my good buddy Herbert here, who's going to help us make sense of the whole thing. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futurasa. Yeah, RJ. Missed opportunity. Thank you.
Yes.
You know, I always wondered why
Really?
Bill Gates called his program Windows, because, well, you've got a little window. Really? Because what I see is a gate. Could have called it Gates.
Nice.
But
All right.
missed opportunity. The problem is I keep giving that advice to time travelers to take back to him, and all of them just try and cause him harm, which I think is not necessarily helpful. So what we've got here, and that's just a time traveler thing. You don't need to worry about that. Biden administration to loan $6.5 billion to Rivian to build their Georgia factory that they had put on pause. Now, you've had an opportunity to get up close to the Rivians, I assume.
Oh yeah. They're everywhere in Seattle. And I'm surprised how many other, well, I think it looks great cars, great company, very happy with them. But like you said, they seem to be not able to, you'll show a table later, aren't you? That's going to show how much cash flow that they're just absolutely losing. So it's a lifeline. So I guess the question is, and you and I have had this discussion, but is it the role of the government to give massive, loan? This is a conditional loan, so that one we just have to consider. It's not money granted, but it's a loan to a company that has not turned a corner yet. And Elon himself said that, right? Didn't he? He just said, he replied to that news and he said, they really should just give it to companies that are cash flow positive before you fund the new models. Like if you're already not even cash flow positive in your current models, and then you're giving them a loan for new models, right? It's like,
right?
What?
Yes. I think the trick there becomes once a company turns that corner, they don't need the help. But I would agree with you that $6.5 billion isn't help. That's all the money in the world. That is, and you did say conditional. This is conditional. They can't just take the money and use it to buy back shares like Mary Barra. No, they would have to use the money to build the actual factory. So there is an expectation that it would be used for the right purposes. But is it too little too late? It's not too little, I'll tell you that. Is it just plain too late? Come on, $6.5 billion, man. We're talking about real money.
Yeah.
Rivian outlines R2 production location strategy and delays Georgia. So this is from back in March. They said, look, we can't build the Georgia factory. And that's where we were going to build the R2 and R3. So what do we do? And the answer is, well, we don't have all the room in the world in Normal, Illinois, but it is a very big factory. We can absolutely build the R2 there. It won't be quite as efficient as if we had a purpose-built factory. So they were able to bring forward the R2 timeline so that it would be sooner. And if they were to do this, if they were able to get this going, they could build a factory capable of 200,000 units. It would look like this. Great. I know what a factory looks like. I've seen them before. But 200,000 units of annual production capacity and doubling that upon completion of phase 2. I assume phase 2 is not part of the $6.5 billion. 200,000 units. How do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good number, right? So 200,000 units is the most, I've been saying this for quite a while. It seems to me that that's actually the actual number, that if a company is able to sell 200,000 of a certain vehicle per year, that's when you can actually get to scale. Manufacturer scale, you can actually reduce your costs. Problem is that that's yet another model. What they need to, if there's reusability of parts amongst all their models, then that's great. But that's what Tesla did, right? They focused on one model, they grew that. And then when they launched the Model 3, they had to get that to be at scale. When they got it to scale, that's when they turned the corner, cash flow turned. Then that allowed them to do Model Y and allowed them to do, other cars. But this one is getting me pretty scary because they're expanding multiple models when that's exactly what Elon's saying. You don't want to add a new model if you're not at scale. Now, if it was the same vehicle and there's a lot of reusability of parts, that's the question mark.
Well, Tesla chose to focus, and I've seen business leaders say genius things like, well, why, what we should focus on is everything. That's not what focus is, my friend.
Right.
That's the opposite of focus. And Rivian did make the decision to come out to debut with three models, the R1T, the R1S, and the delivery van, which comes in three different size configurations. That's too many, I would argue. And adding the 2, 3, and 3X all at once sounds scary, because it is scary. 200,000 units, if you're making $5,000 a car, that's $1 billion a year in profit. Could that turn the tide? Why don't we take a look at,
Mhm.
what I'm going to show next is the
Yeah.
chart. Is the
Mhm.
chart. AJ does fantastic work on X. I have to say, Lucid is quite effective mechanism through which the U.S. can repatriate petrodollars sent to the Saudis in prior decades.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yep.
But this chart also shows other manufacturers. And if we look at this one here, you'll see this line, this yellow line here is
Mhm.
Rivian.
Wow.
Negative 21.6 billion as of
Mhm.
last quarter, and they're projecting to continue losing money. So
Mhm.
if you're going to make $1 billion a year in profit on that factory, it's going to take you 21 years to get back above water here. Even if you double that capacity, now you're making $2 billion a year, and that 5,000 assumes a pretty generous margin. Then all of a sudden you're looking at 10 years to get back to zero, which is a little scary, I would say. Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so you compare it to the Tesla line. Tesla
Hmm.
also, of course, when you're building a brand new platform, this is giant cars, right? You need manufacturing, you need R&D, you need new tech. You're spending money, but you need to turn that around, which Tesla was able to do. They're not as steep. They never got that far. You've got Rivian going too far, and Lucid as well. So you can see that that's why Elon said these two companies are not long for this world if they don't turn around their costs. So if they get a loan, great. That should buy them a little bit more time. But using the loan to expand, that's where I keep saying that's just not the right thing. You needed to spend that money on your current facility, current production line, and do that. Unless they don't think that they're going to be able to sell, which I think what's happened, right? You tell me they can't sell more volume with their existing lineup.
It's the lineup isn't the problem, the price is the problem, and it is entirely possible that they are no longer gross margin negative on each unit, because they made a lot of streamlines and refinements in the R1T and S refreshes.
What?
But
The latest data I saw was they're losing 40 grand per vehicle. I mean, that's everything.
is that
Top
gross or
line bottom.
net?
That's gross. Yeah, that's gross.
Okay, but on the vehicle itself, I don't think they're losing 40,000 on their cost of goods sold, but it is a very expensive truck to manufacture. When you look at it, you can see where the money went. Last thing I'll say on this chart, though, is the chart begins whenever the company begins, so that they're all normalized. So these are all different years they're looking at. So the reason Tesla extends so much farther along this line is because it is older. Okay, and then we should mention, while we're talking about it, the Rivian Lifeline, up to 6 billion. That will be coming in not all at once, but over time, for a joint venture on software. Yeah, they
Oh, by the
reiterated.
way, just to
Yes.
be clear, that 6 billion is not cash.
No, it's
So
it's
yeah, 2 billion I
equity.
think is cash, and the rest are equity. It's something else. Like it's
Right.
milestones, and it's not cash.
Right. Because I don't think Volkswagen would like to pay it, but I imagine they're able to sell it as needed to fund
Mm.
their very survival. Uh, or I guess just make them more attractive in bankruptcy, which is where they would be headed, kind of either way. Now, what do you think Rivian's path should be? What would you, if
Mm.
you've got
Yeah.
2 minutes with RJ and he says, "Hey man, what do you think I should do?"
Mm. So I think he started off correctly, which is saying, hey, okay, we want to create an electric vehicle. Smart. Pure play EV. Very smart. Then he said, we don't want to copy Tesla. Perfect. Correct. Right. We're going to create a truck. And it started to sell well. Problem is, Tesla started to sell the Cybertruck. Now they're in trouble. So now he's going, Tesla sells the best model, the best electric vehicle under $50,000. We should not copy him, but here's what they're doing. They're copying him. So the lower model price models, they're kind of stuck in a hard place right now, right? Because you got the Chinese conquering the low price models. You got Tesla, very, very perfect cars. You're not going to be able to beat Tesla. And you might have, like you said earlier, like when Tesla came out, they didn't have any competitors. Now, any new EV coming out has all these competitors. And so, yeah, I think the partnership with all the other OEMs to try to sell their software like they just did with Volkswagen is the right play to go and try to take that, because Rivian software is pretty respected. It's something that they've done really well. I just did an interview with the founder of the Rivian technology team. And he's Phil Bissell. He was actually a Rivian executive. I just did that interview, and he's, brilliant what they did there. So pretty, I think that's what they just need to keep doing, what their strength is.
And what's crazy is Elon did say, yeah, we should not be giving loans to companies that can't turn a gross profit. I don't know how you get to turn a gross profit if you're not able to build your own factories. It's a catch-22 that way. But if you look, that was everybody. That's absolutely everybody.
Yeah, but you see the steep line. That means that they're spending way too much money.
Oh yes,
right?
No,
they're way
they're
more than they should be spending.
Agreed entirely. Rivian's cash burn is out of control. I think it might be cheaper if instead of electricity, they powered their cars with burning cash, physical piles of steam generated by burning dollar bills, y'all. Guys, in the comments, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? I assume it's something, and it's something important. Leave it. I beg of you, as you all know very well, comments are mandatory. We no longer permit you to watch my videos without leaving a comment. And stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots, perhaps in Chattanooga on March 29th and 30th. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a whole bunch of clubs there, and maybe even some crazy speakers shall arrive, including this guy. So looking forward to seeing y'all there.